Greetings, friends. Prepare for another thrilling journey as we delve into Reddit's most bizarre tales. We're plunging deep into the quirkiest corners of the web. Grab your popcorn and join us on this adventure. Remember to hit subscribe and like. Let's begin. My wife and I met when we were 22, at a time in her life when she was still reeling from a long-term relationship with her high school boyfriend. She wasn't looking for anything serious, and I, who had never been in a relationship that lasted more than a month, was instantly captivated by her. She had a magnetic presence that drew me in every time we crossed paths, thanks to our mutual friends. I would go out of my way to talk to her whenever we were in the same room. After months of these fleeting interactions, one of our friends invited us to a weekend getaway at his parents' beach house for his birthday. I spent every moment with her, and by the end of that weekend, I was head over heels in love. But there was a problem. She wasn't interested in dating. Her recent breakup had been rough, and there were whispers that she still had unresolved feelings. I wasn't deterred. In fact, it only made me more determined. However, I hesitated too long, and before I could make a move, she moved to another city for work. By the time I found out, she was already gone. Our connection was reduced to the occasional Facebook interaction, a sad echo of what could have been. 3 years later, when we were 25, fate intervened. We ran into each other at a Hozier concert. She was there with her friends, I was with mine, and when our eyes met, it felt like destiny. We spent the rest of the concert together. As the show was coming to an end, I was nervously gearing up to ask her out when she beat me to the punch. She turned to me and said her friends were heading to a club, but she was starving. Did I want to grab a burger with her? A month later, she quit her job, packed her things, and moved to my city to be with me. 2 years later, we were married. We both had good jobs and could have afforded a lavish wedding, but we chose something intimate, just 20 of our closest friends and family, followed by a laid-back party. My wife was radiant, her smile never fading throughout the day. It was one of the happiest days of my life. A year after our wedding, we welcomed twins. We had always talked about having a big family, at least 4 kids, and maybe more. Though my wife loved her job, we agreed that she would stay home once the kids came along. Life with twins was chaotic, and it took me by surprise. My wife, however, seemed to handle it all effortlessly. She was the same incredible woman I married, but now she was also a devoted mother, making the chaos look easy. She managed the house, the kids, everything, and still made time for me. Every evening, I'd come home to a clean house, the kids already in their pajamas, and dinner almost ready. She'd tell me the kids needed some dad time before bed, and I'd spend that precious hour reading them stories and tucking them in. But instead of appreciating her, I started to resent how effortlessly she managed everything. I was exhausted from work and felt drained, yet she seemed unfazed by it all. I found myself annoyed that she didn't give me time to unwind before handing the kids over to me. When the twins turned 4, we planned a rare night out with friends. We hadn't had an evening to ourselves in months, and I was looking forward to it. But during dinner, our babysitter called. One of the kids had a fever and was throwing up. My wife wanted to leave immediately. I didn't. She went home. I stayed out. That night, I met one of our friend's sisters who had recently moved to the city. That encounter sparked a year-long affair. My wife found out when my affair partner showed up at our house with a positive pregnancy test. In that moment, as I saw the devastation on my wife's face, I realized how badly I had messed up. She didn't say a word, just walked away. As I stood there, my affair partner asked when I was going to kick my wife out so she could move in. But I couldn't. My wife left, taking the kids with her, and for 2 weeks, I was left alone in our house, surrounded by the wreckage of my decisions. In those 2 weeks, I finally understood the depth of my wife's love and everything she did for our family. The house quickly descended into chaos. Food and toys were everywhere, laundry piled up, dishes were left unwashed, and the smell of neglect began to creep in. The kids constantly asked where their mother was, always hungry, always needing something. I was overwhelmed, and every attempt I made to reach out to my wife was met with silence. I knew she would come back, not for me, but for the kids. And I realized how much I had taken her for granted. The weight of my betrayal and the loss of her love was almost too much to bear. The woman who returned wasn't the loving, vibrant wife I once knew. She barely even looked at me. Instead, she sat amidst the chaos of our home, surrounded by our kids, hugging and kissing them, listening attentively to their stories, all the while never acknowledging my presence. After she cared for them, feeding, bathing, and putting them to bed, she turned her attention to the house, cleaning it from top to bottom without a word to me. I tried speaking with her, but she ignored me completely. I just watched her clean until everything was done. Finally, around 2 a.m., she sat down beside me. Before I could say anything, she asked when I was planning to move out. I asked if that's what she wanted, and she told me she didn't care. The house was hers too, and she wasn't leaving. I told her I wasn't leaving either. She shrugged, went upstairs for a shower, and then slept in the kids' room. I waited a few days before trying to talk to her again. She told me she wasn't interested in hearing anything I had to say and had nothing to say to me either. The following Monday, I went back to work, and when I got home, she and the kids had already eaten and gone to bed. There was no dinner waiting for me. A week later, I woke up to get ready for work and noticed she was also dressed professionally. When I asked where she was going, she said to work. I was surprised and asked about the kids. She calmly explained she would drop them off at school before work and pick them up afterward. I asked why she hadn't told me she was going back to work, and she just looked at me like I was out of touch before heading to wake the kids. Soon after, I discovered from a friend that our kids had switched schools. When I asked her about it, she explained that their new school was closer to her job. I found out it was a private school, so I checked our accounts to see how much we paid, but no money was missing. When I confronted her, she told me she didn't have enough money to cover it, so she had asked her grandparents for help. She stopped using our shared accounts ever since she left for those 2 weeks at the beginning. Now she deposits $2,500 into our joint expenses account every month, covering half of everything. I've told her she doesn't need to do that I'll still cover everything, but she just ignores me. It's been 2 years since I blew up my life. I've tried talking to her, but unless it's about the kids, she's not interested. When I suggested marriage counseling, she scoffed at the idea. We don't have family time anymore. I've tried planning activities for all of us. But if I join in, she makes excuses to not go. We now have separate times with the kids. She sleeps in our bed maybe 4 to 5 nights a month, usually only when she wants sex. She doesn't kiss me or even look at me. She just gets what she wants and then showers to wash me off. We fought about it once, and she told me that although our marriage may be a sham, she's still married. So who else is she going to sleep with when she feels the need? She even insists I use protection because she doesn't trust that I haven't been with anyone else. She's on birth control and said she already has 2 kids living this lie and doesn't want to bring any more into it. The only good thing is my children, all 3 of them. My twins struggled to accept their younger sibling for a while, insisting that they didn't have the same mother. One night, I overheard my wife telling them not to say that, explaining that their sibling shares the same dad and is part of our family. When they asked why their dad had another child with someone else, she told them my heart was too big for just 2 kids, but hers could only hold them, so she had allowed me to have another child. Hearing that nearly brought me to tears, even though I had hurt her deeply, broken her trust, and caused her so much pain. She still did that for me. She made sure our kids accepted my affair child. I still love my wife, and deep down, I have hope that one day she might forgive me and that we can heal from this together. I don't go anywhere except to work, and when I'm not working, I'm at home. She can't bear to look at me, but she hasn't left, and she knows I'm still here too. I'm desperate for advice on how I can regain her trust and love.